Hello and welcome. You're listening to Start Again with Shaunna Lee, the place where you will be reminded that it's never too late and you're never too old to do the damn thing. So stick around if you're ready to vibe higher and be inspired to chase your dreams. Together, we will uncover your soul's truest desires. Now, if you're ready, let's get started. Well, hello, and welcome back to another SimplyShaunna episode, where today we're talking about when it's time to pivot. So how do you know when it is time to pivot, whether it is in business or relationships, even just your identity? I say just, or maybe it's time to pivot in your parenting. Regardless of the area of your life where you may have an opportunity to change kind of how you're showing up, the question becomes, how do you know when it's time to pivot? And it's really simple. It really comes down to when it's no longer working. So when you're not seeing the results you want or what you expect in any area of your life, that's how you know, okay, maybe it's time to pivot. Maybe it's time to change my approach. So one really specific way that you can do this is with human design. So there are 5 types in human design, and each of these human types have what is called a not self theme. And essentially, it's like your poker tell. It is how you know when you're not in alignment with who you are and who your soul is meant to be. And this can show up in any one of these categories of our life, right? Our professional life, our personal life. And when it comes to human design, each of these types has this not self theme. So, for example, I am a manifesting generator, which is a combination of generators and manifestors. And our not self theme is frustration. So when we are feeling frustrated, that is your tell that you're not in alignment. And for projectors, it is bitterness. For generators, it's frustration. For manifestors, it's anger. And for reflectors, it's disappointment. So when you feel these aspects around your business, for example, that's a clear indicator that, okay, maybe it's time to pivot. Maybe we need to rethink who our client persona is. Like, what does that client look like in your business? Is it time to pivot and reach a new audience? Or perhaps it is time to throw in the towel and completely pivot to a new business venture altogether. Anytime that you have a problem to be solved, this is where your business idea comes from, that we should all be solving a problem. But perhaps the same problem exists, but you have a new solution, and that's how your pivot in your business will take form. In other cases, let's say maybe it's your personal relationships. This one gets a lot of focus, obviously, when much of my public discussions are around life after divorce. This is obviously a major pivot in your life if you have gone from married to divorced. So, sometimes it looks like it's time to leave that relationship, and that is your pivot. That is whether the choice has been made for you or you are making the choice yourself. When it's time to leave the relationship becomes that big question. When is it time to pivot? In other cases, it could just be that these personal relationships, whether it's your romantic relationship or friendships or even a working relationship, maybe it's time for your ego to take a back seat. And the reason you're feeling frustration in an existing relationship is because it's your turn to take pause, show up as the bigger person, and have your ego take a beat. In other cases, maybe you haven't connected with this person in your life, whether it's a friend or a romantic relationship, but maybe it's just simply time to go on vacation again. And your pivot in your relationship is the need to reconnect and really just focus on the two of you. So when it's time to pivot is really up to you to decide. The tell is a really important one. But when you see things aren't working, that's when you can say, oh, okay, time to pivot. And this ability to shift course, this ability to show up differently, to me, this is our constant growth and evolution. That's the whole purpose of being a human being, is to grow and evolve on a soul level. But in this lifetime, we're learning lessons, and we're in all reality, the hope I would have for everyone is that you are evolving into the best version of yourself each and every day. And each day you get to wake up and say, okay, how am I going to show up today as my best self? And a lot of times it's how we're showing up professionally or how we're showing up personally, where we get to kind of assess and reassess. Most people do this at the beginning of the year. I really feel like a daily reminder of where you're going and who you're trying to be is the goal, right? That's how we get to our best selves. So in some cases, your identity is where the pivot needs to happen. And obviously, if you're shifting your identity, I'm really talking about how you identify at a soul level. Like, who are you showing up as in your life? That's where, if you're shifting your identity and who you see yourself as, that obviously is going to have effects, these ripple effects down the line, obviously in your business and in personal relationships. But I think when we actually stop and ask ourselves, how am I showing up in life? How do I want to be different? This is where we overcome those limiting beliefs. And this is where we drastically shift our reality from one day to the next. It's where you get to see, okay, hold on, where's it not working? How is that for me to shift? And I think when we look back at these human design types and you see, let's say, manifesting generator as an example, because that's me and that's the easiest one for me to explain to you. But as a Manny Gen, when you are frustrated across the board in all aspects of your life, that's a key indicator that the shift is not specific to your business. The shift is not specific to any one relationship. The shift is you and your identity, and how are you seeing yourself and viewing yourself on a daily basis? What kind of example are you setting for the people in your life that you want to set a good example for? Those shifts and pivots, when it comes to who you are at a soul level, that's where all the other things fall into place. When you shift your identity, you release those limiting beliefs, you realize some of the ways that you're viewing life as it works out for you is the shift that's necessary. My last example is around parenting. So it's no secret I have 4 children, and they range in age from 10 to 29. So I have been parenting for a very long time. I have also messed up so many times. So by no means do I ever claim to be an expert on parenting, but what I can tell you is I know a whole lot about parenting. I know how difficult it is. I know all of those phrases that you hear are so true. The days are long, but the years are short. Some days feel like they'll never end, and other days fly by. But at the end of every year, when I look up and say, how the fuck do I have a 29-year-old? How is my littlest baby already 10? The years are so short. But when it comes to parenting, what I can tell you to be what I know to be true is that each kid is so different, and how they need to be parented is different. So the same approach will in fact not work for every single child. I have learned over the years that my ability to pivot when it comes to parenting is crucial, because for all sorts of reasons, our kids need different things. So their love languages are different, their motivations are different. Um, what they respond to is different. So being able to pivot your style of parenting for each kid becomes really critical when this is what I always come back to. What is your goal? Like in parenting, when you are trying to mother your child, what is your goal? Is your goal to have them follow directions without fail and be nice little obedient children? Or is your goal to raise a whole, well-rounded human being who can think for themselves and solve problems and um, live independently? So the latter is my goal. My goal is always to create human beings who can go out and solve problems. They can work through obstacles. They can pick themselves up when they fail and keep going. Like my goal is really to create human beings that know how to not only survive life but thrive. And my my ultimate goal is that I create happy human beings. So that's always in the background. So when I feel a certain challenge or obstacle with any one of my children, I always come back to how do I get us both closer to that goal? And that usually helps me diffuse a situation. It helps me remove some of my emotion around it because let's be honest, parenting is very emotional. Um, but each phase of parenting needs to be able to shift to accommodate each of those children and how they're growing and where they are developmentally, because we all know we can't compare our children where one is in one phase versus another will vary. And also, as kids age, these guardrails that we have in place, they need to be able to move. So if I like to think of them like the bumpers when you're bowling. There comes a time when, as a parent, you're removing the bumpers and you are letting your children make mistakes and grow and evolve. And you're giving them the ability to practice what they've learned and um, see if they know how to solve a problem. See what they do when they actually fail and you're not the one to literally be there to pick them up. And so that ability to pivot for me when it comes to parenting is so crucial because we need to be able to adjust our style and maneuver as it's a song and a dance. We're dancing through life together, and we need to be able to take a step left and shift right and twist around in a fun turn when the moment calls for it. And so for me, being able to say, okay, is this time for us to shift? Is this the opportunity for me to change my approach? It applies in all of those areas of my life. And the same applies for you. So whether it's business, how you're showing up as an employee, how you're showing up as the boss, your personal relationships, how are you showing up as a friend to your friend group? And, how are you showing up as a parent? All of those come down to your identity and how you are presenting yourself to the world. And sometimes we have to sit back and say, is it time for me to pivot? Is it time for me to shift my approach? And so I find that self-awareness is crucial to our success, to getting us where we're hoping to go. And so this was my little rant for you today on when it's time to pivot. What do it was less about what do you do and more about recognizing when it is time and giving yourself permission for the ability to shift your approach. I think we always get to change our minds and choose again. And that's what it comes down to when it's time to pivot. So there you have it. My little tiny episode for you on maybe questioning where you are in your life and how you're showing up and how you are going to choose to show up today and tomorrow. So as always, I am so appreciative of your listening. Do me a favor, and if you've listened to an episode and you find that it is super helpful for that friend of yours you haven't talked to in a while, send the episode their way. I would so appreciate subscribing and listening and liking and sharing. So please like and share and subscribe and do all of the fun things that you do for a podcast to help us grow. And I will come with another episode right around the corner. Every Thursday, you can find me here. So thank you again, and I will talk to you all soon. So whether you are ready to write a book, start a new business, or just put one foot in front of the other after divorce, the very first step you must take is to find your center. Align with who you truly are. And the way to do that is to find your very own perfect balance between body, mind, and spirit. Are you ready to figure out how to do that for yourself? Then pop on over to SimplyShaunna.com/align to gain access to my signature program. In just 45 minutes, you'll learn all you need to know to create your very own plan to find your center. Align is the program name. Find it under services at SimplyShaunna.com.